Hello there. Yeah, I need some coffee. Do you ever find yourself getting stressed in life? Of course you do. It's not a matter of if we get stressed, it's when we get stressed. I mean, maybe you got stressed out trying to find the link to tune in here today. Maybe I got stressed trying to figure out how to get all of this set up and running. We deal with stress every single day. We deal with it in a lot of different situations. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to be talking with someone who's going to help us understand that stress is a normal part of life and that it's not a matter of avoiding stress. It's a matter of understanding and knowing how to manage it. So we go from unhealthy to healthy. So put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Well, welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. I am Steve, and this is the show where we come together around our virtual coffee table each week and join the conversation to chat about interesting topics with amazing guests. If you're joining us for the first time today, welcome. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. We called a group of people that gather around here to have these conversations our Brew Crew. So regardless of where you're coming from, I hope that you are enjoying being part of the Brew Crew. Do what a number of people have already been doing here. And say hello in the chat. And we just do want to remind you, if you are here, that we always want to keep our conversation appropriate and at least to some degree focused on the topic. We know sometimes you find each other here and want to chat about things between yourself. That's fine. But we ask that it does stay at least appropriate for the space that we're in, because we all want to enjoy the conversation. I see someone new here, Andres, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Andres Contreras, welcome. And if you are tuning in for the first time, I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from and how you found us. See, Rick is here. Good morning. Eliz is here, our guest for the day. And we always love it when our guests are able to join us in the chat. It just seems to bolster everything up because the conversation can more quickly go back and forth. Hello, Eliz. Glad you are here. Kim Baker is here. Good morning after good morning afternoon, and happy Catterday. I had a hard time getting that one out. You know what that means? Yeah. Carla is here. Kathy is here. A lot of people are here. Jerry, good to see you. And just kind of going through the list. And again, if you join this group of people who's already said hello, if you are arriving here now, make sure that you do. Thank you, Kim. Make sure that you do say hello and participate in the chat today. I don't know why, but I've got that little bit of the frogginess that's going on sometimes in the morning. I think sometimes it's just the weather, the humidity in the air. We've gotten a little bit of snow here recently, the last couple of days, not a lot, and it hasn't melted yet because it's been staying pretty cold. What's the weather like where you are at? Where are you at? And what's the weather like there? I know that we get a variety of climate and weather situations around the country, and so always curious to know how you're doing. I'm staying inside right now where it's warm. You know, it always would be fun. We've done this before on a couple of occasions. I'm just tossing this out there because my mind is going all over the place. But be fun to do as the weather permits, to go outside and have an episode of Coffee Breaks, if nothing else, out on the patio. We've actually done some on location live streams before, and looking for some opportunities around the area to do that as well. Anyway, do keep posting your thoughts and ideas. And hi, Shalane. Hi, friends, she says. It is cold in Wisconsin again. Wisconsin, I would think, Eliz, is just one of those areas where you're going to get, just based on where you're at, probably you get the cold in the winter and you probably get a little bit of warm and humidity in the summer and everything in between. We get some of that here in Spokane, Washington. We actually stay relatively dry from a humidity perspective, which is nice. All right, listen, I'm going to want to get to our conversation with Eliz that she and I recorded here recently. But before we do that, we do have some things that we want to share in our sweet and savory. How many of you have been watching the Olympics these last couple of weeks? It's getting ready now. I think closing ceremonies tomorrow. There are a final few events going on, and Still some medals to be handed out, but it has been an interesting and exciting couple weeks, hasn't it? It's just a reminder here of just a handful of U.S. competitors and team members who have been somewhat at the forefront of some of the medal ceremonies. But, I'm proud of everybody who competes, and not even just from the United States. It is really, really special to see these people coming from all over the world and being a part of this. I found myself really cheering on, even in some of the events where there were United States competitors, cheering on competitors from other countries who were maybe the underdogs, or who just showed such a realistic passion and love and open emotion for what they were doing, that it just really caught my heart. So congratulations to everyone who had the opportunity. I was thinking back these last couple of weeks as well about, do you remember how many of you were old enough? Hang on. All right, I'm better. How many of you were old enough to remember the Wide World of Sports? It used to be on ABC, and they would change the video to some degree over time, but it always talked about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And one of the things that consistently over the years was part of the agony of defeat was that ski jumper who lost it coming down the ski jump slope. And I don't think that was part of an Olympics. I think it was another competition. But we saw throughout these last couple of weeks several instances where competitors just really had that agony of defeat, and in some cases the agony being accompanied by actual injury. And so my heart and my prayers always go to those who are competing for safety, for protection, and for those who do get hurt, for healing. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed the agony of defeat, Rick. Right? I mean, right? Yeah, it's the women's hockey team, the one woman bobsled, figure skating is always one that Carol and I love to watch. Downhill skiing too. I loved this year. I know some people were annoyed by the noise that accompanied this, but the fact that they had drones on a lot of the events where people were going downhill, or even speed skating and other events where they were using the drones for part of it. Personally, I thought that added too. I actually kind of enjoyed that. But anyway, I hope if you watched the Olympics, was there a favorite event? Was there a favorite moment that you would want to share here as well? And we do have some birthdays this week. Special people that are part of our lives, are part of the Coffee Breaks family. And wanted to wish a happy birthday today to Alan McCormick. Alan is my brother-in-law, my wife's brother. And Alan is celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday, Alan. We hopefully looking forward to doing a little bit of celebrating with you this weekend. And then also Cassie Jones, who's been on this show before. She is a tour guide and director who covers a lot of different places around Europe. And we've had the opportunity to travel with Cassie. She is celebrating a birthday this week on February 26th. So happy birthday, Cassie. And then one of our favorite people, Jenny Conley, just a amazing sense of humor, an actor, a singer, and just a fun person, really kind of a member of our family. And we want to wish Jenny a happy birthday this week as well on February 27th. Do you have a special day this week that I did not have on my calendar, or maybe I should have had it on my calendar and I just missed it? Can you please let us know in the chat if you have it doesn't have to be a birthday. Maybe it's an anniversary. Maybe it's the anniversary or birthday or other special event for someone very, very near and dear to you that you want to make sure we celebrate and acknowledge. You can put that in the chat. We will watch for it right now. I'm watching for it. But we want to make sure that we celebrate that with you. So please share if you've got something coming up in this week. And if you've got something coming up down the road, maybe it's in the coming weeks or months, and you'd like to make sure that we get it on our calendar so that we can celebrate with you, you can send us an email at cbwsteve@comcast.net. That's the best way. You can put it in the chat here if it's coming up in the next few weeks, but we skim through these. If you send us the email, we will make sure we capture that information. We will make sure we get it on our calendar, and we will make sure that we celebrate with you at the proper time so that we can all have that party together. We like to party together even here online, don't we? All right, listen, I want to tell you a little bit about our guest and tell you a little bit about the topic, because it's one of those that I personally find interesting. And This lady is someone I had the opportunity to meet a few months ago, had the opportunity to hear her talk about a topic that as you're going to hear is a favorite topic of hers, which sounds odd, but you're going to get it here in a few minutes. Eliz Greene is an author, blogger, and professional speaker who is ridiculously excited about stress. She not only finds the chemical reaction in the body caused by stress fascinating, but knows protecting your heart from stress isn't simply nice to have. Her latest book, Stress Proof Your Life, offers implementable strategies to combat uncertainty, overcome overwhelm, and improve performance and quality of life. She treats stress management as a hard skill, essential to feeling better, protecting your health, and getting more of the important stuff done. And don't we all want that? Please join the conversation as we welcome Eliz Greene to the show. Eliz, thank you for being here. Welcome.
It is a pleasure to be with you. I'm excited and I have my coffee ready to go. Let's do it.
All right. Let's definitely do it. You know, you talk about stress as being something that you're ridiculously excited about, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But I think that it's important to begin by talking about some of the events and factors in your own life that have led you to become an expert, a professional speaker and author on this topic. Can you share just a little bit about what in your own background has led you to this area?
Well, it has been quite the evolution. I can tell you, back in the day, I was a dance teacher and a professional choreographer. That is how I made my living. And then I, after 7 years of infertility, got pregnant. Yay. Found out it was twins. Yay. And then very quickly went on bed rest because that was not a great pregnancy. But the bed rest and eventually was in the hospital on bed rest was exactly where I needed to be, because at age 35, while 7 months pregnant with twins, I survived a massive heart attack. Fortunately, I was right there in the hospital, got great care right away. But, you know, I did have a birth plan. It did not include a heart attack, a C-section, and 2-month early children and open heart surgery. But that's what we were dealing with. But I also came out of that story knowing that this wacky story was given to me for a purpose. And I felt compelled to share that story with other people to help them pay attention to their own heart health. And this is back in 2000. It was a time where we really didn't talk about women and heart disease. And that's where I started my career, really talking about heart disease in women and raising awareness and lobbying for better research and treatment for women. That evolved over time. That's how I started my career. Understanding that nobody ever in the history of anything has ever been excited about a keynote on heart health. It's just not that exciting. I mean, I'm an entertaining speaker, but you know, you look at that in the brochure and you're like, yeah, all right, I know I need it, but people kept asking me to do something about work-life balance and stress. And so my work started to focus over there. I did a research study. It took me about 7 years. A research study on job stress, actually what I went looking for was, what does stress look like for professional women? What I discovered was exactly like professional men. The stress is the same.
Stress is stress.
It shows up differently for us, but it's the same. And started really talking about stress, which is the fancy, more fun wrapper for the heart health piece, because the heart health is the impact of the stress. So that's what the book came out of. And my philosophy about stress is really not good or bad. It is a reaction to what's in your environment. So if there's something like a car cutting you off, that causes a reaction in our body. Heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up, your blood even gets stickier. So if you were in a car accident, you wouldn't high. These are all good things, but when stress stays really, really high,
Yeah.
none of us needs higher blood pressure or any of those other things. So that's how stress relates to heart disease. That's what I've been doing. But really, now I've started to see a different kind of pattern. Because if we're just only addressing the stress on an individual basis, kind of puts the onus and when we talk about burnout, and it's like, is it really that these people can't handle it, or have the conditions been created in a way that that person no longer has the capacity to work under those requirements? Right. That capacity is now what I'm really interested in. So it's evolved over time, but it's all about how do we work and live well in the conditions that we can't avoid.
All of us are addressing these things. When you talk about being ridiculously excited about stress, I mean, your own background, I can see why stress is important, but why ridiculously excited?
I know it's a weird thing to say, but it's really my favorite topic because everybody feels it, right? And I think stress gets a bad rap. It's like stress is bad. It's not bad. Life without stress would be super boring. It's the same reaction we have to the car cutting us off and a surprise birthday party. So that little zing is important. So we don't want to eliminate all stress. That would be boring. But the way stress shows up, I find absolutely fascinating, both the chemical reaction that happens in our body and the ways it shows up in the way that our bodies send us signals to let us know that it's too high. And we all have different kinds of signals. Mine lives in my stomach. I know that when this starts gurgling, it's time to pay attention because something is going on. Some people, get headaches. Some people can't sleep. There's all kinds of different signals your body can send that says, well, this is getting a little too much here.
You talk about stress management as a hard skill. And I'd like to explore that just a little bit more, what that means and how that differs from simply saying, I'm just going to avoid stressful situations.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could? But there's always something in our environment. So as I said, stress is a reaction to what's in your environment. There's always stuff in our environment that we can't avoid, whether it's your kid getting sick or your parent getting sick, a new deadline at work that you didn't see coming, a relationship problem that, is sort of lingering out there. Those all create a stress reaction. What I talk about in terms of having it as a hard skill is there's really 3 steps to it. First, we need to recognize the signals that our body are giving us, letting us know that that stress level has reached a point where we need to do something about it. Knowing what your stress signals are, very important. And as I said, they're different for everyone. But in that moment, if something is, you got somebody, you're taking a call from somebody and they're upset, you have a reaction to that because that's how we're built. We're built to empathize, and our body sees the reaction they're having, that emotional reaction. Our body goes, ooh, me too. So when that happens, your heart rate might go up. You might feel a little tingly. You might get angry for different reaction than you would normally have. All of those are signals that something's going on. The good thing is we can send our bodies a signal right back that says, something has changed. It's okay. You can let go of that stress cortisol that makes all of this happen. You can let that out of the system and we can get back to equilibrium. And there's easy things you can do. It is why people do yoga and meditate and sing and laugh. Anytime you change your breath, that signals to your body that something has changed. It is okay to let that go. So taking deep breaths when somebody is yelling at you can help you decrease that stress reaction. Taking a sip of water changes that breath too. Moving, just getting up and walking around. It is like, if your reaction to stressful situations is pacing, that is your body trying to help you out. If your reaction to long-term stress is crying or getting more angry at things that don't really make sense that for you to be angry, that is your body trying to help you out. Those are signals that you can let that cortisol go. So doing those sort of things tells your body, okay, something's changed. We can let this cortisol go. And then the final step is, once you've stopped the reaction, recovering from what that reaction did to you. And that's the thing that I think people find the hardest to make room to do, because we all have things that we enjoy doing that replenish, that allow us to decompress. But they're the first things to go when the calendar gets tight and the stress gets high, right? Where you just back away from them. Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to do? If you have 4 hours on a given Tuesday evening, how would you spend that time?
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, really, it sounds unusual, but working on this show and putting together pieces and reaching out to people is an outlet for me. I find it refreshing.
Yeah. So perfect example. And I know you did an episode, 2 weeks ago, on hobbies. Hobbies are a great way to recover if what they do for you is let you disconnect from what's causing you stress and decompress. Yeah. So, and do not judge other people's hobbies.
Right.
I have been enjoying sorting and digitizing photos, family photos, with a legacy box sort of thing. And I find that so soothing. There's something about putting things in order that our brains really like. When things seem uncertain, if you can put things in order, that feels good. That allows us to decompress. Some people, if they have the time, will organize closets, do that sort of thing. Do not judge. That's a very soothing.
Absolutely.
But some people are like, why are you doing that? It's also why people exercise.
Right.
There's lots of us around, and I talk about sort of the border collie iguana dichotomy and what people need to disconnect. My husband is a border collie. He needs to be fully occupied in order to shut all of this off in his thinking. Yeah. Everything that, especially on vacation, if he is not fully occupied, he's thinking about what's in his inbox and what project he delegated. Is that going to be done the right way? So in order to actually disconnect from all of that, he needs to be occupied. So we need to do things. He needs to exercise. We need to go biking and hiking and whatever. I am more on the iguana side. I like that quiet, contemplative side. I love to read my book. I'd love to just watch the sunset. Just that quiet, contemplative thing is my jam. Now, I can hang with the border collie, and he can hang with the iguana, but having the language between us allows us to say, hey, it's been a border collie day. Do you need some iguana time, or vice versa? And really knowing what you need and taking the time and the space to do it, that's the key.
Talk a little bit about what you see as being some of the stumbling blocks that not only organizations but individuals encounter when they're trying to address stress.
That's a really insightful question. So, as I said at the beginning, I've really been looking at capacity. And capacity is really just our ability to perform under the conditions that we're in. Capacity optimism is the belief that we can do or handle so much more than what our time, our energy, and the conditions allow. And a lot of us on every level operate with this capacity optimism. As individuals, we take on more without thinking about what needs to leave in order for me to actually have the capacity to do that. As teams, we often don't talk about what are we already handling. Can we actually add this on? And what are the priorities here? And from an organizational standpoint, as an organization grows, oftentimes the capacity of the people don't keep pace because either we're not able to bring in enough people, or it takes too long to get those people trained, or that sort of capacity puts a damper on growth, and it puts a strain on the people who are in that organization trying desperately to keep up. So, and if you only address one of those, you can't solve the problem.
Yeah.
You can have skills to handle it better, but you can't solve the problem.
Is there a difference? You mentioned this a few minutes ago. I just want to delve into it a little bit further, but what we sometimes consider to be the differences, but probably have a lot more in common when we think of job-related stress and stressors that can come from other factors in life. I mean, sometimes, a lot of us, if we're working full time, because of the amount of time we spend in the job, because of the dynamics and the interactions that occur within the workplace, a lot of those things can come at us from the job setting. But many times we are dealing with stressors that come from family situations. They may be coming from, the community around us, and so it can be coming from the world around us. We see and experience a lot of that in what we're encountering in the news and social media. Is it different? Is it the same? And are there different ways of approaching stress management dependent upon where it is coming from?
So I'm smiling because it sounds like an invitation for me to launch into the reason I don't like the phrase work-life balance.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. So first of all, there are several things just the term grates on me, because first, it somehow states that work and life can balance each other out, which doesn't work in my head because all of it happens all at the same time. It's our environment, right? It includes work, it includes family, it includes everything in our world. So you can't separate one out and the other out and ask it somehow to balance each other out. And as I said before, if balance isn't fun, we need that sort of seesaw of stress. So balance isn't the goal. It's how do we handle everything? How do we make sure that we're living and working well under all of this that's in the environment?
Right.
And it also puts the emphasis on the individual in terms of, if you could just figure out your work-life balance, everything would be fine. It's your failure that you don't have balance. It's the same problem I have with burnout. Burnout is just the end result of not taking care of the capacity problem. That's not on the individual. That's an individual who is in an untenable situation in an environment that is just requiring way too much, and their body and brain says, I cannot do this anymore. You're going to have to do something else. So that's just like the canary in the coal mine. It's not an individual failure. It is a systems failure. So if we're only focusing on work-life balance or burnout prevention, we are not looking at the full environment and the full picture of what people are dealing with. And I see this so often in people who are in that squeeze position, that middle management, where they're trying to manage the demands from upper management and protect their team and keep their team motivated and their balance and everything that they're trying to do. And what they're doing is absorbing all of that in a way that quietly drains their capacity to the point
Mhm.
where they become paralyzed, have trouble making decisions. What was easy to decide yesterday is almost impossible because it is way too complex here. And these are the people who end up with early heart attacks and strokes and blood clots and all kinds of things, because all of this pressure is causing stress, which causes the impact on their health. So if we're putting all of that pressure on the individual, like, you should just be able to handle this well,
Right.
that's really unfair if we're not looking at everything else that's going on. And I will say, having a parent who is ill while you're trying to hold down a full-time job, or going through a divorce, or any of the life things, is hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard, and it puts so much pressure on that. But we're all dealing with a stew of stressors in our environment. We have to look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think most of us have been in a situation where a home is what sort of lets you detach from work. And there are situations where work is the place that feels safe
Hmm.
and allows you to disconnect to what's going on in life. Yeah.
I wonder as well, Eliz, if you've got, I know this is probably something that could become an episode in and of itself, but just some thoughts around how to deal with recurring stress around the same issues, or unrelenting stress.
Well, unrelenting stress is why I wrote the book.
Hmm.
So it is that three-step process that we already talked about, which can help you weather through unrelenting stress. Because there are times where we know, especially if you're caring for a parent, doing those sort of things, going through a divorce, all of those things, where we just need to recognize that this is how it's going to be for a while, and we're going to have to do our very best to make it through without causing ourselves physical damage along the way.
Yeah.
So we can do that part. The bigger picture, though, is where in the system is there room for some ecology? So ecology is just caring for the environment, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes there are things that we can pluck out of that environment and say, not right now, we're not doing that. And certainly when you're dealing with a big thing, divorce, sick parent, sick kid, that sort of thing, like we're talking long term, it is the opportunity to look at what's in your environment, do a little inventory, and say, okay, this thing that I said yes to, for me, it's always a volunteer position. This volunteer position that I said yes to made sense before this happened in my world. Now I need to gracefully exit and just say, I am dealing with all of this. I love you, I appreciate you, but I cannot be on your board, or whatever it is. You just take that out of the environment and create a little more room. So there are oftentimes things that we can let go of or have a conversation with ourselves about. Is this actually important to me? Or am I doing it because I feel some sort of odd historical obligation to it? Or this is how I've always done it? Or this is what is expected from this person who I don't even really like that much? Looking at those things really allows us to decide what's going to stay in our environment and make a little more room when we're being pressed by something bigger, or there's just so much that we have to pull it back. And asking for help and delegating. For those of us who are high performance, very capable problem solver people that will, like, I see a problem, I am going to solve that problem. I am ready to roll. Empowering other people and allowing them to solve the problem in the way that they're going to solve it, that's where it usually sticks for me.
Yeah.
That creates more space. And
Yeah.
what is absolutely fascinating is when you empower people to do that, they often come up with solutions you wouldn't have thought of.
Right.
It's just
Amazing,
like,
isn't it?
it,
Yeah.
it is. And a lot of this to me goes back. I'm a sailor. We have on Friday nights in the summertime in Wisconsin here, uh, we race our sailboat.
Mhm.
And we have a team. There's 14 of us. Very rarely are all 14 of us on board, but um, there's been times where I need things done my way,
Mhm.
and I'll try to teach it. And if it doesn't happen, I try not to correct it while they're still on the boat. I'll correct it when they leave. But sometimes I just have to sit back and step away and allow them to do the thing I taught them how to do, like bringing the boat into the slip, grabbing the line and getting it attached. One of our crew members, I have done it the same way for 10 years. She comes in, she's doing it a different way. I'm like, well, that's better.
Yeah.
Did it the same way 10 years. She does it one time, and it's like, that is better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Opening
Exactly.
the opportunity
Opening that
for
door.
other people. Yeah.
I want to mention the book, Stress Proof Your Life, which is a fantastic book. And one of the things, well, a couple of things that I loved about it. One is throughout the book, it's not just, first of all, you would think a book like this would be ridiculously stressful to read. It actually is ridiculously exciting to read. It's a fun book to read. And it is also very interactive. All along the way, you provide not only resources, but exercises and little things that the reader can be doing to actually apply the things that you're talking about in here to check themselves and to kind of check the environment around them. I also love the fact, and most authors don't do this, you state right up front, hey, look, if you don't think you have time to read the book, go to page 241 and start with the executive summary, and it gives an overview of the book that leads you back to the chapters that may be relevant at that time. So if someone's going, I can't just start at the beginning and read all the way through,
No.
they can still do this in a less stressful way. And if they're time constraints and say, I can't get into a new book, they can still get into this. And I wanted to just give a little promo of my own about your book, and really encourage people to look into to reading this. And that leads us to kind of wrapping up with this, Eliz. Where can people find you and find information about this book, your books, and speaking opportunities, your blog, and other resources that you have available?
The easiest way to get there is to go to stressproofnow.com. I set that up for just these sort of opportunities. So my name, Eliz Greene, has so many extra E's, it is almost impossible to type that in and get it right. So stressproofnow, all one word, stressproofnow.com. There you will get access to blog articles. You can get the Border Collie Iguana quiz to find out what your stress recovery personality is. You can get a baseline stress quiz to assess where you are. There's a way to get the book. Lots of free resources on there too.
Eliz, thank you so much for taking the time to join us to talk about this important topic about stress proofing our lives. And really, it can be hard sometimes, but it doesn't have to be difficult to find some good avenues in life. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and wish you all the best as you continue to share it with others and find it in your own life.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the coffee break. Very much enjoyed it.
I really cannot say enough good things about Eliz Greene as an individual, and about the quality of this book, which I've read I haven't utilized all of the exercises yet. Some of them I kind of skipped past, and so I'm in the process of going back through it. But we're going to share some information again online about where you can find Eliz and her information, stressproofnow.com. And I again want to just say a huge thank you, Eliz, for taking the time to share. And yeah, it's interesting because you hear this conversation. There was a tremendous amount that Eliz shared that you go, okay, that makes sense. I'm taking hold of that. And yet it was still, I think, the tip of the iceberg. There's only so much we can cover in a conversation that lasts less than a half hour. Eliz does a lot of working with and speaking with organizations and groups, but you can find so many great resources by going to her website. It does give you a link to find and get the book, and you need to get this book. You need to get this book. I cannot say that enough. It is such a straightforward way to approach a greater understanding of stress, not getting rid of stress in our lives, because we're not going to. And as Eliz said, that's not the goal here. But we want to understand its impacts on our lives so that we can manage it appropriately for our own health, and quite frankly, for the health of the people around us. So please do that. And again, Eliz, thank you for being here. I don't know if Eliz was able to stay with us the entire conversation. I know she said she was actually potentially going to be traveling today and kind of tuning in from the road. There can be a variety of reasons why doing that makes it a little bit more difficult to stay in there. But I know that she'll have the chance, if she wasn't, to come back here and check out your comments, your questions, and other things later on. I do want to share just a little bit of what is coming up in the next couple weeks on Coffee Breaks with Steve. So take a look at this.
Yeah, that aspect of community and this like cohort that we're building of these like-minded people who are starting to learn like our writing, and we all workshop each other's writing. That has been really important for the growth of my writing and honestly my confidence in myself and my writing and my decision in going to the master's program, because I think one of the best things that you can get out of a master's program like this is that community that you've built.
Helps the actor make a choice of what their body is doing and makes them very conscientious of their body. And also a lot of the reactions and interactions are very film oriented. They're smaller action because they're so small, because it's so intimate. You don't have to project a lot in order to have a feeling. And I often tell actors, it's like you pull people in more by being quiet. Because then people are leaning in, and then you've got them kind of where you want them.
I mentioned during the conversation with Eliz that one of my outlets is preparing for and doing this show each week. And as busy as time can get around to doing this, I cannot even begin to tell you how much I appreciate everyone who has a part in Coffee Breaks with Steve being able to continue. I don't know if you realize this, but we're coming up in early April, just a few weeks from now. We're going to be celebrating our 7th year, we're going to be celebrating our 7th anniversary of Coffee Breaks with Steve, and it's beginning. We've had through today 306 episodes. 173 of our episodes have included a guest, and a total of 115 individuals have joined us on this show, some more than once. And so I am forever grateful To everyone who has done that today, Eliz Greene, thank you, Eliz. And for all of you who join us around our virtual coffee table, our brew crew, who comes together. This was a great conversation today. And once again, I will just put a huge plug out there for Eliz's website and for her book. Do get the book, get Stress Proof Your Life. If, like Carissa, you want me to get it for you for your birthday, send me an email and let me know that. cbwsteve@comcast.net. You know, I was looking for ideas for birthday presents for people. Don't wait for your birthday. Get this book. Start using it as a resource in your life. You know, with that in mind, I also just want to say there's just so much that goes on in our daily lives, within our own families, within our communities, within the world around us. We all have things that can cause stress, but they can also be an impetus. They can also be a motivation for us to take some kind of action. And we all have ways of taking action. We can be ambassadors for the things that we are passionate about. We can be advocates. And so, as we talk about every week, I just want to remind you as we finish up today to please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Coffee Breaks with Steve.